During an amazing dinner for 12, a hidden connection was uncovered by the waitress daughter. The soft glow of neon lights flickered over the Maplewood diner, the kind of place where dreams simmered alongside Grandma's famous meatloaf. Yet, as Sarah poised herself beneath the glow, surrounded by a familiar haze of frying onions and fresh coffee, sinking doubt coiled around her heart. At 34, she found herself stretched thin, caught between the demands of endless shifts as a waitress, a cook, and the single mother of spirited Lily. The evening's dinner service promised to be particularly important. 12 distinguished guests, each representing a thread of the community's fabric, but the weight of her ambitions pressed heavily on her shoulders. The thought of honing her culinary skills felt like an ever-elusive mirage, just out of reach as she dashed from one table to another. Sarah's breath quickened. Was she enough? Could she really elevate her life beyond being a waitress known for identical smiles and timely coffee refills? The anticipation of the night felt like a cruel taunt, reminding her of a battle she fought daily, not just for her daughter but for herself. She caught a glimpse of Lily, curled up in a booth with a book, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in the air. Deep down, a sinking feeling clawed at her belly. She wanted more for them both: connection, understanding, a family legacy untainted by regret. As the guests filed in, the chatter rose, a backdrop of laughter fused with clinking glasses. Yet, amid the chatter, Sarah sensed an unease, like static before a storm. She couldn't shake the nagging doubt: did the diner define her, or could she reshape her identity? Hours dragged on, with every order filled and every table cleared, adding pressure on her already weary soul. Where was the semblance of control? In those moments, Lily's innocent gaze brought a flicker of warmth that softened the tension. But was it enough? Could dreams be woven amid the clamor of plates? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, a loud crash interrupted the din. Lily dashed past, breathless with urgency, and disappeared into the back. Sarah's heart stalled. The back was off-limits for a reason. Every instinct told her to go after Lily, but the rush of the diners held her hostage. Her muscles tightened with worry. What if her daughter stumbled into an issue she couldn't understand? And what if Sarah's facade crumbled under the pressure, revealing the cracks of a hidden past? Through the thin walls, muffled voices punctured the oblique chaos. The name Margaret pierced her thoughts, an old wound, dredged up without warning. The past loomed large, threatening to spill into the present. The concern for Lily intertwined with a dread of what the evening might unearth. The stories swapping back and forth, each felt like a reminder. Secrets threatened to surface during this dinner, and with them, the fabric of their delicate existence. As her heart raced, the laughter from the dining room mingled with the growing storm in her chest. Would tonight be just another night? Or would it crack open the carefully constructed world they lived in? Time stood still, and an unsettling feeling settled deep within her. She had to know what had happened. She had to protect them both, even as fear sharpened every shared moment between them. The chaos of the night threatened to spiral beyond her control, unveiling a reality she had tried so hard to conceal. What truths lurked within the clamor, and would they survive the revelation? Mary's breath, heavy with trepidation, echoed in her ears. A muffled shout beckoned Sarah's attention. The urgency of the moment propelled her forward, squeezing through the sea of patrons, her heart a tumult of anxiety. Each passing second fed her imagination, conjuring dread-filled scenarios of Lily caught in a snare of timeless food industry hazards: sharp knives, hot stoves, and unyielding machinery. With every hurried step, the weight of responsibility pressed harder against her. When Sarah finally reached the back, the scene she encountered was unexpected. Lily stood, her face the picture of defiance, confronting a man leering at the shelves filled with dusty cookbooks. He was an unassuming figure, dressed in a tattered jacket, but there was something unsettling in the intensity of his gaze. "Mom!" Lily called out, her voice a mixture of fear and determination. "He has been asking about you." Sarah's instinct kicked in, rushing forward. "Who are you?" she asked, out of breath. Something sparked inside her, a protective ferocity she hadn't known she possessed. The man turned, his expression deceptively calm. "I'm just curious about the food around here. Your cooking is a rare thing. I remember a time when it was better, though." He shrugged, nonchalantly glancing at the shelves. But it felt like a jab, landing squarely where Sarah had been most vulnerable, the heart of her ambition. "Step away from my daughter. You're not supposed to be back here," she said, firm yet shaky, her body tense. The panic subsided as her adrenaline surged. It was time to take charge not just of the diner's chaos but of her own life. "You know the legacy of this diner, don't you?" he pressed, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "Your mother leaves behind something extraordinary. The recipes are pure magic." Every instinct screamed at Sarah to exit this conversation, to pull her daughter away from whatever past was clawing its way back into their lives. Yet, the mention of her mother uncoiled something deep within her, a curiosity that intermingled with fear. "Who are you?" she demanded again, this time searching for a truth that felt buried deep inside her. "I'm Peter," he replied, his demeanor shifting as if he sensed the change in her energy. "I knew your mother back in the day. We had dreams too, ones that didn't materialize like we thought." At that moment, the walls began to close in around her. The specter of Margaret, cloaked in secrecy and disappointment, cast shadows she had largely ignored until now. The stories of her mother's culinary talent, which had lured so many, now felt like both encouragement and an indictment of her own choices. Did she really want to unearth the past? Could she confront the fears that rose from it? The clamor of the diner seeped into her thoughts, the laughter growing dimmer as she pondered Peter's presence. Here stood a piece of her mother's history, and the very reason she believed she could step out from shadow into a life created on her own terms. Yet, as she wrestled with this revelation, another burden surfaced. Fear of failure loomed larger than ever. "Is this what you want?" The question slipped free almost involuntarily. "To drag me back to a past I've tried to escape? We're all bound by our family legacies," Peter observed, his gaze steady. "But it doesn't have to be the weight around your neck. Can be the wings that lift you, if you let it." Sarah hesitated, caught between the fragility of her ambitions and the harsh truths of her origins. Could she learn to harness that legacy, instead of merely wrestling with it? Before she could speak, the door swung open behind her, and the chatter from the diner swelled like a tidal wave. Each word from the front reached out, reminding her of the life she fought to create and safeguard. As Sarah stood at that crossroads, each choice brimming with uncertainty, she felt the stirrings of resilience begin to take hold. Yet, uncertainty remained thick in the air, waiting like smoke to reveal a broader truth. "Let us talk," she finally replied to Peter, boldly choosing connection over fear. As soon as the words left her lips, the realization crystallized. This was her moment. She would drill deep into her own past to finally reconstruct her future. But as Peter opened his mouth to reply, a ruckus erupted from the dining area, drowning out their conversation. Sarah's heart pounded. What now awaited them? The unexpected may have just begun. The noise surged louder from the dining area, drowning Sarah's thoughts in chaos. She turned instinctively, eyes darting to the door, a knot tightening in her stomach. This wasn't just a diner. It was her lifeline, tethered to her daughter, her dreams, and the fragile facade of stability she had fought hard to construct. "Stay close, Lily," she commanded without looking back, her instincts sharper than ever as she scanned for trouble. She felt the heat of Peter's gaze resting on her, and an unsettling mix of irritation and dread clashed within her. The commotion intensified, resonating with a strange blend of laughter and argument. "What now?" she muttered under her breath. This familiar disturbance, a frustrating reminder of how quickly things could slip from her grasp. Then, as if he sensed her rising anxiety, Peter leaned in slightly, a hint of concern furrowing his brow. "It's just the usual crowds," he said, an air of calm that nearly irritated Sarah further. "But sometimes things get out of hand." A flash of annoyance coursed through her. Out of hand was her daily reality, the dimension of chaos that accompanied her choice to run the diner. And yet, beneath this agitation lurked a more complex dilemma, a dawning realization that perhaps she had been too defensive. Perhaps confronting the past through Peter was critical to her own development as a person and a professional. "Let us take a look," she said finally, adrenaline igniting her decision as she pushed past Peter and into the fray. A mix of uncertainty and determination coursed through her veins. As they wove through the bustling crowd toward the source of the disturbance, a familiar face emerged. Maxwell, the regular customer known for his jovial spirit, stood at the center, hands raised as if addressing an audience. "I just want to know where the soup of the day is," he declared, half laughing, half seriously engaged in the chaotic contest to grab attention, yet it wasn't just the soup he craved. Every diner knew it was about being part of something larger, about belonging. Sarah couldn't help but smirk, the tension easing slightly. "Maxwell, you know the kitchen runs on its own schedule," she called out. "Just hang tight. I'll get it out to you." As she moved to settle the crowd, something tugged at her foreground thoughts. Refusing to reflect on the mounting disarray of her life, she felt a flicker of inspiration kindled by Maxwell's antics. Here was a community, a blend of personalities she had reluctantly acknowledged but hadn't truly embraced. "Let me show you what we can do together," she murmured to herself, her resolve glimmering anew. Returning her focus to the kitchen, Sarah felt electric energy. The previous encounter with Peter breathed life into her shoulders. She charged forward, swapping roles as she began orchestrating with her staff instead of simply reacting to the ever-present uncertainty. "Get ready to serve up something special. We're turning this around." The swift change in her demeanor startled the staff, but stirred a newfound enthusiasm. As she addressed her team, they responded with an unexpected fervor, eyes sparkling with motivation. Each dish became an opportunity to collaborate, an act of reclaiming her space not only as a mother and a caretaker but also as a capable leader. "Your mother would have loved this energy." Peter's voice floated in from the periphery, evident between the exchanges of orders and laughter. She turned to him, a mix of emotions swirling as if the affirmation hung in the air like the aroma of freshly baked bread. "That's just it, I senti it. My mother left me a legacy, but I want to build my own one that resonates with the people here now." In that moment, strength surged through her, intertwining with vulnerability. Sarah understood that denying her legacy had inadvertently hindered her progress. She needed it, intertwined with her own vision, to forge ahead. Yet amidst the celebration of her new conviction, unease loomed, lurking in the corners of her mind. Was she strong enough to truly let go of her fears in order to embrace the wisdom of the past? As plates filled and laughter rang out, Sarah felt a warmth growing but sensed a shadow waiting just outside the door of possibility. Just as she was about to give in to the uplift of the moment, the door swung wide, revealing a straggle of tech-suited business people who looked far too out of place amid the comforting chaos of the diner. In an instant, Sarah's heart dropped. Could this be the turning point where everything she worked for erupted in brilliance or shattered into chaos? Before she could utter a word to her staff, she felt a sharp thrill of anxiety run through her. How would they respond to this sudden interruption, and what stakes lay hidden behind it? The clink of silverware stilled as the tech-suited group entered, their polished shoes echoing off the diner's tiled floor. Sarah's heart raced as she caught her reflection in the glass display, disheveled but determined. This was a pivotal moment, and she could either retreat into the shadows or step into the light. "Peter," she called, her voice steady, overriding the murmur of confusion. "Can you manage the kitchen for a moment?" He nodded, a flicker of surprise mixed with support flashing across his face. With a deep breath, she advanced toward the newcomers, adjusting her posture to exude a casual confidence she didn't fully feel. They were equipped with wide eyes that swept over the diner as if weighing its worth in the marketplace of ideas. "Welcome. Can I interest you in today's specials?" She smiled, attempting to gauge their interest beyond mere curiosity. Their suits and airiness felt stark against the backdrop of diners with grease-stained aprons and laughter. "Oh, we're just looking for a quick bite," one of them replied, an edge of impatience in his tone. "Maybe some coffee to go with that?" Sarah suggested, her mind racing. What if this was an opportunity, a chance to elevate the diner beyond its ordinary boundaries? She watched as they conferred with one another, their whispers charged with doubt. Did they think it simply beneath them? Frustration flickered in her chest. How many times had she believed in her vision only to cower in the face of judgment? It was time to confront that fear. "Why don't I show you how we do things here?" She extended an arm, ushering them toward the back where the hustle of the kitchen would be visible through the open window. "We pride ourselves on the care put into every dish." As they followed, Sarah's demeanor shifted from hostess to ambassador. She began with the specials, blending descriptions with stories, weaving the narrative of her family's legacy that simmered in every recipe. Here was where she could capture their imaginations, perhaps ignite interest that transcended mere sustenance. But their aloofness didn't fade. If anything, it seemed solidified in skepticism. One man leaned against the counter, arms crossed, clearly unimpressed. "Do you really think a diner can compete with the likes of tech-driven fast service apps?" Her stomach churned at the dismissiveness, but she refused to shudder. "It's about more than competition. It's about connection. Here we serve meals that remind people of home." Anxiety prickled her skin as she spoke. Would they hear her? Or would their dismissive laughter drown out her earnestness? Just then, a piercing laugh erupted from the dining area. It was Lily, engaging an older couple, her innocence lighting up the room. The laughter bubbled from the corners of the diner, and a thread pulled taut within Sarah. Her heart swelled. That was what her diner encapsulated: connection, warmth, community. "Maybe you can witness it for yourselves," she challenged, her voice rising with confidence. "Come on, let us see if you can find a flavor that reminds you of something more than transactions." She halted, watching their expressions ripple through surprise and intrigue. Would they step inside her world, or would they keep their distance? The choice lay between the steps within the diner and the cold doorframe that separated them from an experience that might reshape their perception. Sarah took a moment, reflecting on what she was offering: her heart, her dreams, and, of course, the diner. Would they dare to be vulnerable in this unexpected space she had sacrificed so much to create? But even as her thoughts raced, doubt simmered beneath her resolve. What if they felt motivated to change the diner into something it wasn't meant to be? What if their open wallets meant closed hearts? Just as she was about to address their hesitation, Lily peeked around the corner, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Mom, can I show them the soup? Maybe they'll want to try it." Her daughter's innocent enthusiasm was a beacon, guiding Sarah's instincts. There was potential here, a spark to ignite. "Of course," Sarah said, motioning for the group to follow. The doorway between them began to shrink, the possibility of a shared experience flickering brightly in the air. As they reached the kitchen, Sarah caught Peter's eye. His reassuring nod fueled her resolve. This was her moment, one she had fought for every day. But as the group gathered, Sarah felt the strange weight of anticipation hovering above her, a suspense that hinted she might have initiated a new chapter. Could these tech-savvy strangers not only appreciate her culinary vision but somehow unlock pathways she never imagined? The answers awaited just beyond the kitchen window, and, with a breath drawn deep, she embraced the unfolding story, wondering, as a flicker of doubt crept back in, whether this moment could pivot her from a simple diner owner into something much larger. As eyes landed on Lily, excitement bubbling anew, Sarah couldn't shake the whispering thought. Had she just opened the door to both opportunities and chaos? The kitchen hummed with energy, a comforting chaos of sizzling pans and simmering pots. The air buzzed with the sense of garlic and basil, and Sarah felt a small swell of pride as she watched Peter deftly navigate the fray, his hands a blur as he plated their renowned lasagna. Her eyes shifted to the newcomers, still hovering at the entrance. They were tentative, uncertain faces slowly morphing from skepticism to mild intrigue. "Lily," Sarah called, summoning her daughter closer. Show them the soup. Remember the one we made yesterday. Let them taste it. Her voice, flushed with newfound determination, carried beneath the clamor of the kitchen. Lilia's face lit up, and without hesitation, she dashed to grab a small, colorful bowl. Sarah marveled at how her daughter's innocence and trust could transform the air around them. Lily's enthusiasm was infectious, and even the stoic man leaned closer, curiosity piqued. Homemade tomato soup, Sarah continued, crafting her words like the finest ingredients. We use fresh tomatoes and herbs from the garden. It's as much about the process as it is about the taste. Would you like to try it? With the young girl at her side, Sarah sensed a shift in the group's energy and opening. The suit-clad man, whose bravado had once been so palpable, now regarded them with a hint of vulnerability. Sure, let us see what you've got, he relented, pretending to seem unfazed as the soup made its way around. Sarah's pulse quickened. Each spoonful shared brought them closer and, in many ways, revealed their guarded personalities. Was she daring enough to do this not just for the diner but for her own need to be seen and regarded? Lily, energized by the engagement, began narrating the day they de-harvested the tomatoes, each story accentuated by her expressive gestures. The room softened. The harsh lines of the men's suits blurred as laughter erupted from her simple tales. Sarah watched, engrossed, as the strangers began to relax, engaged not just with the soup but with a child's unabashed joy. More than just a meal, she thought, tasting the success of connection. This is hospitality. But the specter of doubt still loomed over her thoughts. What happens after this moment? Would they genuinely appreciate what she offered long-term? Or were they only participating in a fleeting curiosity? The risk of vulnerability preyed on her mind. Could they grasp the essence of her work? Or would they view her and the diner as mere stepping stones in their corporate climb? I have to ask, one of the men broke the rhythmic banter, the earlier skepticism returning. What is your vision bringing to this diner? Can it truly thrive amidst the overwhelming tide of tech? Sarah's heart dropped. It was the question that both encapsulated her fears and offered her an opportunity. Being here isn't just about survival. It's about embracing a culture, a legacy. She began, her voice gaining momentum. It's love in a bowl, conversations with strangers over coffee. This is a place where people come to feel alive again. She felt strength course through her, a clarion call echoing her deepest desires. Perhaps this was not just about defending the diner but rather painting a bigger picture. The tech-driven world often forgot the simplicity and beauty of connection. Real life was not something to be reduced to algorithms and quick transactions. The men exchanged glances that hinted at intrigue. Maybe, just maybe, she was reaching them. But at that moment, a reminder of the stakes settled in. What she wanted was not just this fleeting success, but a lasting impact, a legacy that transcended her family recipes. The pressure between them thickened, simmering beneath a surface of civility. Would they challenge her vision or endorse it? And then, unexpectedly, Lily chimed in again. Can I tell you about my favorite dessert? Her innocence shattered the tension like glass, light cascading through the cracks as Sarah watched her daughter. She realized that she had been too focused on the outcomes and not enough on the present. The whirlwind of possibilities. Around her the soft laughter, the shared tastes was exactly where she needed to channel her energy. With a deep breath, she reaffirmed her resolve. Yes, Lily. Go ahead, she encouraged, allowing a glimmer of hope to flicker. But beneath her newfound courage lay an unsettling thought. If the group didn't connect with her vision, her shot at turning this diner into something transformative could slip through her fingers. As the conversation swirled with laughter around dessert, fingers dancing in a celebration of flavors, Sarah held her breath. Had she unwittingly planted the seeds of connection or merely widened the chasm that separated them? The journey ahead was murky. Her heart hung between ambition and fear. And suddenly, as one of the men leaned in, the question that might tilt the balance of her fate formed on his lips, leaving the air still and charged with anticipation. What's south next for this place, Sarah? The question hung in the air, a palpable tension settling over the table. Sarah felt the weight of it pressing down, filling her with uncertainty. She had envisioned this moment, had prepared to articulate her hopes for the diner's future. But now that it was here, all the words she rehearsed melted into a fog of doubt. What's next? The words echoed in her mind. To some, such a question could spark an enthusiastic elaboration of grand plans, a declaration of bold initiatives. But for Sarah, it was a moment of reckoning, a test of her resolve. Next, she repeated, uncertain if she was seeking more time to think or attempting to stall the expected response. She glanced at Lily, who was passionately animated in recounting an imaginary dessert recipe to the suit-clad men. The girl's innocence cloaked the moment in a warmth that reassured Sarah, if only briefly. Then she recalled her original intentions: to transform this diner into a sanctuary of community warmth amidst a world dominated by sterile technology. She clenched her fists, steadying herself as a surge of determination coursed through her veins. Next is about evolution, she asserted, her voice firmer now. I want to redefine what this diner stands for. It's not just about food. It's a gathering place. I aim to cultivate an experience that draws people in, not just patrons, but a tangible sense of connection. Each word felt like stepping stones paving a future, a bridge from her aspirations to actualization. The men were leaning in, genuinely engaged for the first time. Sarah's heart raced, fueled by their interest. Imagine hosting interactive cooking nights and inviting space for the community to explore and celebrate the art of cooking together. With each idea she let flow, her confidence began to build. I envisioned curated seasonal menus inspired by local farmers, and art from neighborhood talents adorning the walls. I want this place to be a canvas where creativity flourishes. Her vision came alive in vivid strokes as she spoke, each detail glimmering like fresh herbs glistening in the sunlight. But lurking still was the specter of doubt. Was she overselling her dreams? Did they see the potential or merely the romantic fantasy she spun? She forced herself to finish boldly. I intend for this diner to thrive not as an outdated relic, but as a beacon, bridging generations and tastes. But a shadow swept across her newfound confidence as one of the men, a tall figure with an analytical gaze, interjected. But Sarah, how do you plan on executing this vision? It sounds ambitious, but in a tech-driven market, will that really attract the clientele you need? The question stung, a thrust that peeled back her bravado. Everything she aimed for felt vulnerable beneath this scrutiny. Execution, she thought, grappling with the implications. It was one thing to dream, another to manifest tangible change. I have a plan, she stammered, though her confidence wavered. It involves community feedback, adapting to what people truly desire. We can engage with everyone from local farmers to artists. But I need support. I know that I can't do it alone. The caveat slipped out, an admission of vulnerability tinged with strength, a realization that being open about her limitations was a vital part of that evolution. As murmurs of contemplation rippled through the men, Sarah's apprehension deepened. Would they dismiss her as naive, or would they recognize the merit in her ambitions? A flicker of uncertainty washed over her again. Here she had shared her heart, but in doing so, had she jeopardized her dreams? Would she be branded as an idealist in a world that craved practicality? Just then, Lily piped up, innocent and earnest. Can I help make the new menu? I can draw pictures for the dishes, and we can make it fun. The room stilled, laughter bubbling underneath the seriousness. Sarah felt a warmth spread through her. Her daughter's uninhibited creativity caught the men off guard, bridging the gap between questions and answers as they shared a good-natured chuckle. Sarah seized the opportunity for growth. Yes, we can create something special together, integrating every voice into this diner. It's a collaborative journey. The shift in the conversation allowed her a moment of reflection, a realization that perhaps her strength lay not just in her vision but also in the ability to invite others to be part of it. Yet as the laughter faded, a heavy silence settled once more, those piercing eyes still appraising. After a moment, the suit-clad man nodded slowly but said nothing more. Sarah's mind raced as the heaviness of possibility hung around her. Had she won them over or merely started the dance of negotiation? Time would tell. The prospect of change loomed ahead, tantalizing yet daunting. And as the night ambled on, She sensed that the moment of truth was creeping closer. "Just you wait and see," Sarah said to herself, a whisper of determination resurfacing again. Could they become collaborators in her ambition rather than critics of her vision? The next challenge was looming large on the horizon: evaluation, resistance, and the inevitable push against her dreams. Would she be ready to confront them head-on? The morning after the pitch, Sarah awoke with a sharp clarity slicing through the remnants of doubt. The diner's kitchen, filled with the scent of brewed coffee and crisp bacon, felt both familiar and empowering. Today, she wasn't just the owner. She was a catalyst for change. Each pot and pan that clanged echoed the resolve stirring within her. Yet, the uncertainty from last night's meeting loomed over her. Had her vision resonated, or had it merely been seen as a whimsical notion? The morning's light revealed shadows of hesitation creeping into the promises she had made to herself. Racing thoughts spiraled as she realized that yesterday's performance was merely one step in a marathon toward her goals. Sarah peeled potatoes while gratitude for Lily's innocent enthusiasm enveloped her. Together, they had sparked laughter in a tense atmosphere, and it dawned on her that their responses could be more than she had anticipated. Perhaps she could channel that same spirit of fun into the diner's identity, crafting an environment that invited not just feedback but active participation. As the hours ticked by, the initial rush faded. It was essential to redirect that flurry of ideas into a strategic action plan. Each dish she envisioned could embody the heart of her message, a culinary story that welcomed all to partake in. With renewed purpose, Sarah grabbed her notebook, the pages still filled with the jotted dreams of the diner. She flipped through, stopping at her sketches for family-style meals centered around community traditions. A new section took shape as she scrawled down tasks. Reach out to local growers, put up calls for artists, and brainstorm ideas for hands-on cooking events. The more she wrote, the clearer her mission became. She was not merely a dreamer. She was a designer of experiences. But could she execute her vision with the right energy? Determined to confront her doubts head-on, especially the fear of being perceived as impractical, she set her sights on a local food fair happening that weekend. It presented a perfect opportunity to gauge community interest. She could showcase quick, interactive cooking demos, perhaps a sneak peek of her proposed menu items. Walking into the diner later that day, the atmosphere buzzed differently. Employees moved with purpose, a reflection of her own renewed vigor. Perhaps just feeling empowered could create a ripple effect. Sarah gathered everyone for an impromptu meeting, intent on spreading her energy like wild yeast in a loaf of bread. "Team," she began, her voice stronger than before, "I want us to engage the community. Let us rethink how we operate." She shared her vision, embellishing it with details meant to involve every member of the diner's family. "We aren't just here to serve food. We're here to cultivate connections." As she spoke, she noticed the exchanges of glances among her staff. Some looked intrigued, others skeptical. Just as with the investors, their reception was a mix of hesitance and curiosity. A young cook raised her hand. "Sounds great, but how do we pull it off? What if no one shows up at the fair?" The question struck a chord. What if no one cared? The thought lingered like an unwelcome guest. Sarah paused, feeling the weight of her vulnerability returning, the flicker of doubt igniting inside her again. However, she remembered the laughter shared during the meeting. What if is just a fear holding us back? How about we shift that energy into a challenge? I believe that together we can create something amazing. The resolve in her voice tempered the anxiety reverberating around the room. With this new perspective, their shared uncertainty transformed into a palpable curiosity about what was possible. They tossed around ideas, perhaps too ambitious for their initial plans, but enthusiasm wove them together like a silk thread. As discussions unfolded, a sense of boldness replaced her apprehension. It dawned on Sarah that growth isn't forged in complacency. It's birthed through confronting fears and taking risks. But even as she fueled this fire, another thought prowled restlessly in her mind. Would her plans withstand the skepticism of the stakeholders? The day's momentum set the stage for the weekend's food fair, a chance to put everything on the line, to either soar or stumble. This is not just about feeding people with the right support. We will inspire them, she thought, conviction hardening her resolve. As the clock ticked closer to the event, one question remained. Would she find the connections and support she needed to survive the inevitable scrutiny? Or would she risk it all and face the critics that awaited her? The sun dipped low as Sarah prepped for the food fair, her heart pounding like a drum echoing the rhythm of her determination. The diner buzzed with earnest activity staff members clustered around different stations, testing recipes and refining ideas. The energy was infectious, but Sarah could feel the weight of expectation close in around her. Every task completed brought her closer to the moment of truth, but it also intensified her nagging doubts. Okay, everyone, final touches, Sarah called, her voice bravely masking her internal chaos. She had insisted on handcrafted signs that not only detailed the demo schedule but also the stories behind each dish. They were more than just food. They were narratives shaped by her vision, meant to inspire connection as the last of the evening light faded. Sarah dashed out to gather supplies. She had forgotten fresh herbs from a nearby farm. Get your head in the game, she whispered to herself, battling the rising anxiety. A fleeting thought nagged her. What if this all fell flat? What if, amid the bright lights and cheerful chatter, no one cared? The drive to the farm was a blur of thoughts. Each scratch of a tire on the gravel road echoed her battle. She could think of how each mistake could be seen not as a learning opportunity but as an indictment of her worthiness to lead. Would her passion be enough to uplift a brand that felt weary and static? She returned to the diner with thoughtful garnishes and a current of renewed energy. However, the self-doubt lurked in shadows, keeping her on edge. As she placed the herbs in their designated spot, her assistant, Lily, wandered over, her youthful exuberance a stark contrast to the burden weighing on Sarah's shoulders. Is it true that you came up with all the recipes? Lily asked, eyes wide. The question sparked a flicker of defensiveness within Sarah. Yes, but it's a team effort, she replied. It's everyone's hard work that brings it to life. A flash of understanding crossed Lily's face. Can I be part of the team effort by helping with the presentation tomorrow? The request disarmed Sarah. Here was a chance to connect, to bring the very essence of her vision to life. Absolutely, you can help present our stories, she replied, a smile breaking through her tension. That night, a vision crystallized in Sarah's mind. The fair wouldn't just be about feedback. It would be a chance to showcase their personalities, their histories through food. Each interaction could turn hesitance into excitement. But how would she balance presenting her vision with addressing her team's anxieties and ensuring they felt included? Restlessness ensued as she paced the diner late into the night, crafting speech notes between sips of bitter coffee. As the words flowed, so did an understanding. She had hidden talents, the gift of relatability. If she revealed the essence of her journey, opening up about her failures and aspirations, it could convert skepticism into empathy. Tomorrow wasn't just an exhibition. It was an unveiling, a moment to bridge her personal narrative with that of her team's ambitions and the community's expectations. As she finally locked the diner's door and headed home, resolute in her authenticity, Sarah considered one more question, spiraling her thoughts again. How would she confront those who still doubted her potential? The future seemed to shimmer in front of her, but hidden beneath that brilliance was the looming presence of scrutiny and risk, waiting to challenge everything she had built. In the uncharted waters ahead, would authenticity give her the strength to become the leader she aspired to be? Or would it expose her vulnerabilities, making her question whether she could truly inspire change? The first rays of dawn crept into the diner, a soft glow illuminating Sarah's workspace as she hurriedly set up for the day ahead. The tension in the air was palpable, thickened by her swirling thoughts and rising anticipation. Each click of the coffee machine felt like a countdown, amplifying the pressure she felt. She glanced at the handmade signs now fully affixed to the walls, vivid with colorful descriptions and heartfelt stories. These will carry our voices, she murmured to herself, trying to ward off doubt. By infusing the presentation with her vulnerabilities and triumphs, she hoped to foster a genuine connection with the audience. But as she hurried about, Sarah couldn't help but feel the shadow of her own insecurities. What if her stories fell flat? What if the audience questioned not only her culinary skills but her ability to command the room? Those fears sparked doubt that threatened to consume her. "Sarah, are you ready for today?" Lily called from behind the counter, her enthusiasm unwavering. "Almost there, Lily," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. The girl's spirit was a welcome distraction. As the team gathered for a final briefing, Sarah noticed their faces mirrored her own uncertainty. She sensed their apprehension, the weight of expectations pressing against them. Sarah cleared her throat. "Everyone, I want you to know how central each of you are to this. We've not only crafted meals but memories. Let us share our passion, not just the food." Encouraged by the collective nods, she decided to incorporate her team more deeply into the presentation. "Lily, I want you to introduce our first dish. You'll be amazing." The initiative invigorated them, an unmistakable shift in energy coursing through the group. Sarah's heart swelled, a flicker of hope igniting. As she practiced her speech, the words began flowing with unexpected ease. She spoke about the inspiration behind the recipes her grandmother's cooking and the memories tied to flavors of her childhood. The vulnerability in sharing her history felt liberating, peeling back layers of her guardedness. In that moment, she realized her connectedness to the audience hinged on honesty, not bravado. Yet, beneath that blossoming confidence lurked another wave of doubt. Sarah had meticulously planned every segment, but an ominous uncertainty lingered. What if she forgot key points in the heat of the moment? What if she fumbled the presentation and exposed her failings to everyone watching? To combat the tension, she focused on the logistics. Each dish would serve a purpose, mapped to themes she hoped would resonate. However, the real challenge loomed larger, delivering her narrative authentically while anchoring her team's contributions. As the food fair began, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement, but Sarah felt buoyed by the thrill of the unknown. She and her team greeted guests with an energy that was contagious. Each dish tasted was a story, with Lily and others sharing personal anecdotes. The connection forged through these moments lifted some of Sarah's burden, allowing her to embrace her role as a leader more naturally. But as they settled into their rhythm, doubt crept in again. Sarah spotted an old colleague in the crowd, arms crossed and a skeptical brow raised. Would he see her efforts as genuine, or would he validate her deepest fears by snubbing her? With each passing minute, the pressure mounted. Everyone was sharing genuine dialogue, but now more than ever, Sarah felt the scrutinizing gaze of her past. Had she truly transformed, or had her facade merely distracted from the real question of her leadership? Sarah inhaled deeply, her heart hammering. The moment for her evolution had come. Could she turn this precarious moment into a leap toward her aspirations? Or would she falter under the weight of her doubts? The realization hit today was not just about good food. It was a test of her courage. And the clock was ticking. Would she stand tall in the face of discomfort, or would doubts shake her resolve? As the food fair buzzed around her, Sarah drew a deep breath, centering herself amidst the cacophony. The rich aroma of simmering sauces intertwined with the laughter of patrons infused her with a renewed sense of purpose. Today was a culmination of her struggles and ambitions, a canvas where she could paint the mosaic of her journey. "Remember, this isn't just about us," she said to her team, their faces reflecting a blend of excitement and uncertainty. "It's about the countless stories shared over meals. We're here to connect, to remember that food is more than sustenance. It's about belonging. Let us show them that." With those words, Sarah felt a shift, an unshackling of her previously held fears. No longer was she merely a waitress or even the chef behind the scenes. She was a leader, a curator of experiences. She realized that this moment belonged to her and her team. Lily approached, carrying a tray of vibrant, homemade tomato basil soup, a dish that had not only warmed bellies, but had also elicited laughter and delight during its creation. "Mom, can I share our story about making this?" she asked, her eyes wide with enthusiasm. "Absolutely, sweetheart," Sarah beamed, feeling a wave of pride wash over her daughter. It was proof that the nurturing aspect of her culinary roots lived on, As they ventured to invite others into their family narrative, the young girl spoke to a small gathering. Her infectious energy filled the air, effortlessly drawing the crowd in. Those poised in their business suits softened, leaning in with genuine curiosity sparked by a child's innocent passion. Sarah watched, heart pounding, exhilarated by the realization that vulnerability mingled with authenticity could charm even the hardest of hearts. Feeling emboldened, she stepped forward to embrace the moment. "Thank you all for joining us," she called out, her voice steady. "We started this diner not just to serve food, but to create a hub for connections, for gathering, for passing down traditions and stories through every dish. It reflects not only my journey but also my family's legacy." With each word, Sarah felt the fragments of her past falling into place. This was the moment she had craved, sharing her aspirations without hesitation. She unveiled her vision of hosting community cooking nights, inviting local artists to share their talents, and crafting seasonal menus that honored regional growers. Each concept was shared with fervor, not merely to impress but to invite them to partake in an evolving narrative. Then something remarkable happened. In that very moment, amidst the clinking of glasses and the salty air of anticipation, she felt fear dissolve into excitement. The crowd leaned in closer, curious faces filled with warmth instead of judgment. It was validation of her transformation, the bridge from self-doubt to genuine connection. As laughter floated and stories were exchanged, Sarah sensed a shift in the tide. She was no longer tethered to her past mistakes or insecurities. The old colleague she had feared could undermine her confidence approached, this time with a bright smile. "You've really taken the diner to a new level. This atmosphere is incredible," he said, his eyes reflecting genuine admiration. In that moment, all the weight of her struggles seemed to dissolve, replaced by a solid confidence that had once felt out of reach. She had not only confronted her fears but conquered them. She was no longer merely defined by the limitations of her past. She had created a space of authenticity where dreams could thrive. As the fair continued, Sarah engaged with guests, cultivating the connections she had yearned for. She felt more than a waitress. She felt recognized for her competence, her passion, and the vision she had crafted. The diner, once an echo of her insecurities, now stood transformed, a symbol of resilience, community, and the power of sharing one's truth. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the diner in shades of gold and crimson, Sarah took a moment to savor her surroundings. The energy pulsated with life. Her team flourished in their roles. Her daughter smiled, the embodiment of hope and joy. In this kaleidoscope of connection, Sarah understood that she had not simply created a culinary experience, but fostered a legacy worth revealing. She felt solid in her newfound role, confirmed not by others' validation alone, but by the unwavering knowledge that she had the power to shape her destiny. Today, she conquered the chaos and emerged secure in her identity. The diner was reputed not merely for its meals, but for the relationships it cultivated. The anguish of her past was transmuted into empowerment. This was her moment, her achievement, her life unfolding as she had always wished. Sarah stepped into the future, unscathed and illumined by her truths. She had demonstrated growth, honed her craft, and achieved something far greater: the ability to inspire transformation. To all who have followed Sarah's journey, this is your time too. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.